and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome to the FantasyAlarm NBA DFS Playbook Show. We have a Monday 11-game main slate to talk about. James, my friend, how was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Back-to-back cashing nights in the NBA. Saturday could have been a really good night. Everyone in our Discord and on Twitter saw my dead body tweet where I had nothing but like 7x plus plays outside of Kevin Durant, of course, because that's how it works.
Right.
Other than the 3.5 fantasy points that Colby White delivered me. So that was a little disappointing. Still cashed. I think that's maybe one of my more impressive cashes of my life, and it was like a 2.5x cash.
You played the FanDuel drop the zero game without dropping the zero.
Oh, dude, I miss. Oh, that would have been what a time that would have been, huh? If that was still around. Except DraftKings, maybe something to look into. DraftKings, it worked really well for FanDuel. They're still doing it. If you haven't heard. Yeah, all in all, good weekend. On to this Monday slate, 11 games, a lot of back-to-backs. This is like we've had back-to-backs over the weekend for the first time. This is a big back-to-back, slate of games. We had 8 games total yesterday, including the Denver OKC game, and like 6 teams are on back-to-back. So fun weekend overall in the NBA, good weekend overall in life, and ready to hop into this 11-gamer for this Monday slate.
Yeah, let's get into it here. We'll talk 11 games here for today's main slate. When it comes to game totals and spreads here today, James, what are the notable games you should be looking to get some exposure to here today?
Yeah, so notable totals right off the bat, I think maybe one of the more noticeable line moves. There's actually been 2 today. Minnesota Atlanta opened for us last night at 233.5. That has been bet down to 228.5. So 5-point swing in that game. Atlanta on a back-to-back, possibly the return of Jaden McDaniels on the Minnesota side. Obviously, that could lead to a little more defense because Jaden McDaniels is an elite perimeter defender. Another pretty big line movement in Chicago, Indiana, opened at 226.5. Been bet up to 229.5. Indiana holding serve, though, 3.5-point favorites. Open, still 3.5 in that game. Noticeable on one side, and maybe something to peek in behind the curtain for you as we get into some data points in a little bit. Portland, Toronto, 216.5 game environment, which doesn't tell the whole story, but Toronto 9-point favorites in that one. Golden State, New Orleans, a lot on line movement, open at 228.5, been bet down to 224. There's been some reports about Golden State, Klay Thompson, and Jonathan Kuminga both listed questionable for this game. So there's been a lot of line movement today. Nothing really holding serve. Dallas, Memphis is a solid 226 total. Miami, Milwaukee is a solid 225. Utah, Denver, 227.5. So still really good game environments. Brooklyn, Charlotte, 227. Depending on what sports book you look at, Brooklyn's favored on one, Charlotte's favored on the other. So a lot of really good games tonight. A lot of line movement in Vegas. That's also because we've got a lot of news today. Like we went since the start of the day, which when you and I did the podcast last night, there really wasn't a lot of news. But we both said it. Like we're saying this now. But all these teams on back-to-backs, you never know. It hasn't mattered, the new rule changes so far. Teams are already resting players left and right. It hasn't mattered so far. So, and that's obviously been the case. There's a laundry list of players now listed questionable, and we'll see if they play, if they don't. But, a lot of these line movements have to do with players popping up in the injured report.
Yeah, 100% here. Let's give out our first Call of Fame plays here. Talking some stacks. Where are you going with your favorite game stack of the day here?
I'm going to look at the Brooklyn-Charlotte game. And honestly, I really like the Brooklyn side of things mostly. And I don't feel if you didn't want to run it back with Charlotte, I don't think you had to. But I think when you look at Brooklyn as a whole, they're down two key pieces of this team. Nick Claxton out, Cam Johnson out. And we saw it in the last game against Dallas. They relied heavily on a small rotation. And they basically played 6 guys, 30-plus minutes, and one of which entered the starting lineup and is an absolute buzzsaw in Cam Thomas. One of which is a point guard, forward, center that wasn't going to play center and only point guard starting at center. 2 defensive stalwarts that, can space the floor for them. So I love the Brooklyn side of this game. Maybe my favorite team, definitely my favorite team to use today. Like, no doubt, price per dollar, basically outside of Mikal Bridges. I'm not saying you can't use Mikal Bridges, but like everyone else is too cheap, realistically, for like who's in and who's out for this team. And then you factor in Charlotte is playing the second fastest in the league behind Washington through 2 games. And it's 2 games, but like Charlotte was a top 10 team in pace last year. So like they carried over their roster from last year. They're still top 10. And honestly, if you do want to bring it back with people from Charlotte, Brooklyn is down their 2 of their arguably best defenders. Cam is a very good perimeter defender. Nick Claxton was talking himself up to be Defensive Player of the Year last year. And we saw it in the first game. I think you said like, maybe we should have taken that into consideration when playing Evan Mobley on that opening night when like, Nick Claxton held Mobley at 10-6.
Right.
We're like, wait, 70% of the field just played this guy who went 10-6. So, you can definitely run it back with Charlotte guys. Someone that you're very high on that I won't spoil, plays power forward, center, eligibility on DraftKings. Obviously, LaMelo Ball's minutes have been ramping up. Gordon Hayward has been awesome through 2 games. Get him while he's still one piece. Brandon Miller's been awesome off the bench. So there's a lot to like in this game. Definitely my favorite game environment of the day.
Yeah. For me, when it comes to stacks, and you kind of alluded to, maybe Vegas isn't as high on this one as I am with the game total and obviously the big point spread. But for me, this is more so some individual plays on each team that I'm looking at. The cover of today's show is Scottie Barnes. I know we're really high on him here today. We like Dennis Schroeder as well on the Toronto side of things here. And then on Portland side, I mean, Malcolm Brogdon, we feel is pretty underpriced at the moment here. And then you look at some of the other players, whether it be a Shaedon Sharpe or a DeAndre Ayton, if he can stay on the floor, Jeremy Grant. There's some players on the Portland side that I think are kind of sneaky plays here today. So, Vegas doesn't have a great outlook initially on these 2 teams here. And in terms of pace of play, they're both in the bottom half of the league right now as well. It's more so individual matchups. I wouldn't go crazy, with a 6-man stack of this game here, but 2 plays there, 2 and 1. I think there's some interesting upside to get some exposure to this game today. So for me, my favorite stack outside of the chalk is going to be the Trailblazers Raptors matchup this evening.
Yeah, and I actually think like there's some sneaky Portland value that we might get to that are strictly tournament plays, but a few guys that I don't think a lot of people are familiar with or a lot of people even realize, especially when you factor in specifically the Rob Williams piece of this equation that Rob Williams has been ruled out. There could be some sneaky Portland value. There's 2 things you said, Rob Williams out and DeAndre Ayton's inability to stay on the floor. There could be some sneaky Portland value even in that game that I agree with. And, the game total aside, I do think there's a lot of good pieces.
I agree with you. All right, let's get into our positional breakdowns here. We'll start off at the point guard position. You and I have talked a lot about this season. We've been in on Luka Doncic. We've been playing him a lot more than seemingly the field has been playing, and it has worked out perfectly fine for us. 75 fantasy points in 2 games for Luka Doncic here. Triple-double opening night, a 49-point double-double with 7 assists against Brooklyn in the same 2 of the season. On the road here, going up against Memphis, no worries about paying up the $12,000 price tag, correct?
No. And Kyrie, and caveat, Kyrie now questionable.
Correct. Which is also kind of an interesting, you want to talk some value maybe for Dallas. You've mentioned like in Green, there's Jaden Hardy, like there's guys that could pop up into this lineup here for Dallas this evening. So when it came to like the top overall guys for me here, I was plugging in Luka. And then I think we both were kind of in agreement here. Halliburton is still far too inexpensive for what he can bring to the table at $9,400.
Yeah, I mean, he does everything. And that's why he was going so highly drafted in season-long leagues and why the outlook on Halliburton was what it was coming into the year. He is a budding star. It's really hard to guard a 6'7" point guard who can do everything. He has made multiple threes in each game. He has 20-point double-doubles in each game. He's good defensively. And this Chicago team has just been an abomination through 3 games. Like, they should be 0-3 if not for an absolute collapse by Toronto in that second game that Alex Caruso just kind of took over on the defensive side of things, not even offense. Him and then DeRozan just scored a bunch. Like, they should be 0-3. They have a bad defensive rating. Like, there's everything pointing to Tyrese Halliburton. And you know, I think the reason people aren't playing Luka is because his price has been a premium from the start, and it's not getting any cheaper. And you could save almost $3,000 going down to Luka, from Luka to Halliburton. So I largely agree on the Halliburton front. He's one of my favorite plays above 9K today, especially, 47, 53. The minutes are only going up as he, as we get deeper into the season.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the reasons why I like Halliburton over, in SGA today, it's not that you can't play Shai Gilgeous-Alexander if you don't want to. That's fine. It's just that from a production standpoint, they've both been rather similar, and you're just getting the discount on Halliburton here. So that's kind of my thought process there on him here today. What about you? Are you in on SGA? Are you in on any of these other top price cards tonight?
Yeah, I'm always in on SGA. The production is similar only because the Denver game, really, like the first 2 games, SGA looked like the MVP candidate that I thought he would be. 60 and 65 fantasy points and double-doubles in each, 30 points in each. And then, the probably worst performance you're going to see all year came against Denver. I don't see it getting worse than that.
I meant more so the like point per dollar.
Yeah, sure.
If you take out even the Denver game, you're paying 10.6 for 60, so it's still
6x.
6x return. Yeah.
That's a fair point. I'm fine getting the SGA. Fine getting to Lillard. I'm a little indifferent about it. We've seen the top of the mountain for Lillard, and we've seen the bottom of the ocean through 2 games. I think this is still a premier player in the league. So if you want to get to Lillard, that's fine. If you want to get to Curry, obviously if there's no Clay, Curry's value rises.
Sure.
And I think, right on cue, Mark in chat asking about LaMelo Ball. Look, there was a minutes limit. It's gone from 31 to 33, right? I'm not saying like we're gonna get minutes in two like increments in 2 raised, but like it's just safe to assume it's gonna continue to rise. And LaMelo's gotten for 40 plus fantasy points, not making literally any shots.
I was gonna say he's shooting 25% from the floor while going over 40 in both slates. So I'm with you here. No one's really playing him. Believe it or not, if you look at our rostership percentages. Of the guards up over $9,000, the only one in double digits is actually Trae Young. Which I think is kind of interesting. $9,000 again feels maybe a price point play. 45 and 43 fantasy points, doubles in the last 2 games. Probably should have doubled in all 3. Fell in assist shy here. Going up against Minnesota here tonight. A guy that again wasn't really on my initial radar when it came to like roster builds here today. I was just finding the money to get to Tyrese Halliburton. But Trae Young is someone that, at least some of the field is preferring here at the discount.
Yeah, another guy who's not making shots and is still putting up a lot of fantasy points. He shot 35% or worse in all 3. And yes, he's getting to the foul line and the assists, like he's a 20-10 guy every night. He also ran a blowout last night. So who knows if he doesn't go for 50, what could have happened? If he gets another 3-4 minutes, what could have happened? So yeah, I'm okay with it. I still lean Halliburton, but I'm okay if you end up on getting Trae Young. Like Halliburton being lower owned than Trae Young is only more grounds for me to get the Halliburton.
Right. Agreed. 100% there. Moving on down into the mid-tier range here. Guards that are within your player pool tonight?
Guards in my player pool this evening. I don't love this tier. Like, you could definitely get to Jamal Murray at 7,900. I think Utah has been really bad defensively, but Murray's, he lives in the shadow of Jokic, unfortunately for him, because he's a superstar himself.
Right.
And I don't think it's helped that Michael Porter and Aaron Gordon are basically doing everything else. Like, Michael Porter has 9+ rebounds in all 3 games. Aaron Gordon's doing a little bit of everything. It's really hurting Jamal Murray's peripheral stats. I mean, just 2 blocks in terms of no steals through 3 games. He has 5 rebounds in 3 games, and we're paying 7,900. So Murray for tournaments is fine. Chris Paul, I think, only gets on my radar if Klay Thompson sits and we see him back in the starting lineup. Didn't love him coming off. Not that I didn't love him coming off the bench because he plays the second unit, but a fully healthy Golden State team, and he's 8-7-5, and now he's $7,700. Probably can't really get there. I would say the next guy I would get to really is probably Drew Holiday here in the mid-tier, $6,800. And even then, it's really hard to, on a nightly basis, after Tatum and Porzingis, figure out who's next, who's going to break out for Boston, right? Which Boston player is going to go nuts? Because Holiday and White did it last game. Brown did it last game. But, if Porzingis is out of foul trouble and Tatum's having a normal Tatum night, it's usually them 2 first and then everyone else, right?
So. Very difficult to kind of consistently trust. But a lot of people are getting to Drew Holiday here this evening as well. If you're kind of looking at some of the projected rostership, 20% of people are in on Drew Holiday this evening. Does that surprise you?
No, I think the price is really good. The sub 7K. This is a guy who just gave us a 40-point ceiling. I don't think we're gonna have 10 rebound games often, but he is a good guy everywhere. He's very sound defensively, obviously, and he can score and he can do a little bit of everything. So I think the price point and the matchup have a lot to do with it. 10.5 point spread, 230.5 total. And so I like it, 6,800. I don't love the ownership, but I can understand why.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, there wasn't a ton in the mid-tier that I was absolutely in love with here. Dennis Schroeder at $5,900 still feels pretty strong. Derek White's another guy that people find themselves getting to as well as a pivot off of Drew Holiday there. I mentioned Malcolm Brogdon earlier in the show, $5,600. Assuming everything's good to go at him here tonight, another strong performance. He only played 26 minutes in that blowout against Philly. But still, this is a guy that we all thought was hurt, gets a clean bill of health, and is playing like a clean bill of health right now.
Yeah, I mean, if there is any indication that things are fine, hasn't even popped up in the injury report on the back-to-back, right? Is that that's kind of fair to say? Or he's just yeah, I'm good, and he's not. So we'll also, John, some injury news we just got. Daniel Gafford ruled out for Washington. So not great for them because we'll see who they're going to start at center. But it might be a moose. A moose might be on the loose tonight in Washington, which might not be good for them.
No, it might not be good for them as they run up against Boston here this evening. So for me, again, going back to my favorite stack there with I liked the Portland Toronto game. Brogdon was certainly in play for me there. Any other value guys here as we head down towards the low 5K, 4K range?
I mean, I would go back to Kobe White. I would go back. If he's still in the starting lineup, I know there's been a little chatter about switching up the lineup, and you already know 3 of the 5 are not out of the rotation. So is it Kobe White or is it Patrick Williams, basically, right? Which one is going to not be a starter anymore if it comes to be? But the first 2 games, he was great. And that was, again, we've said this all show, great from a fantasy perspective without shooting well. And, I'm not saying he's like the best shooter, but he shot 44% from the field in each of the last 2 seasons. And you're getting a guy right now shooting 27%. So there's positive regression coming. He had 6 assists average through the first 2 games. He had 5 rebound average through the first 2 games. 16, 6, and 5. If you get that from Colby White, you're very happy going into this slate. So really good game environment. So I would say Colby White probably. And then, like, I do like Keontae George. If I knew he were starting, here's the thing. Is that game going to stay competitive? Because, like,
probably not.
Young team traveling to defending champions after young team just got torched by Phoenix without Devin Booker and without Bradley Beal. What are they going to do in Denver? Elevation, young, like, Keontae George
feels like a no to me.
Yeah, it feels like a no. And that means we just saw Keontae George 27 minutes in a blowout. And it wasn't directly correlated to the blowout, but, that is a factor. 31 fantasy points in that span. So game narrative, game script. If you think that game can blow out, Keontae George could top 25 minutes here. And we just saw it. In that type of environment, he could be a 30-plus fantasy point scorer.
Yeah, 100% for sure. Let's move on over to the shooting guard position here. Top shooting guards on the board. We've discussed a couple of these guys already. Anthony Edwards is $9,200 against Atlanta. His price tag is coming down after being priced higher the first couple slates of the year. Cade Cunningham at $8,800. Desmond Bane, $86. How are you approaching these top couple guys here at the shooting guard position?
Ant's fine if you want to get to him in tournaments. It's been a little underwhelming. Was really, 27 shots is amazing, and I think that's going to be a lot of times he's going to be shooting a whole bunch, but they didn't need him to do that much in game number 2. He's fine if you want to get there. I'm perfectly fine going back to the well with Cade. I think we just have to live with the Cade foul trouble sometimes. He is a foul-happy player. He is sometimes out of control. 2 games in which he's almost fouled out out of 3. He is turnover prone, but when he's going well, he is really going well. We're 1 assist shy of 2 double-doubles through 3 games. He has 27 points in 2 of 3. And obviously, like, you look at that game where he wasn't, well on his way to a double-double-ish type performance. So I like Cade. Love Desmond Bane. I think getting to Desmond Bane, if you wanted to just like start your lineup Luka Bane, that would be like a really good start in the same game. You could see them trading baskets. But John, let's dive in to one of your Call of Fames here. After Desmond Bane, I think you have a Call of Fame on your mind.
I do. My fade of the day here. We got Jordan Poole, $8,100. I think this one's pretty obvious for me. A couple of different reasons. One, he's in price $8,100 in both slates here, which means we want to talk 5X. We need 40, 45, 50 fantasy points, somewhere in that range, that 5 to 7 X range for some value return here. And we haven't gotten it. Have not gotten that value return yet on his price point. And now he's going up against Boston, where he's going to be flanked by Drew Holiday, Derek White, maybe Jaylen Brown at times. We're also expecting this game just to be a blowout. Now, he's going to be on the floor for these games anyways. He's going to be taking a ton of shots. We know all of that. But he's also not shooting well anyways in these games. 38.9%, 34.8%. So while we're kind of bullish long-term in certain spots on Jordan Poole this year, we don't think the Wizards are going to win many games. We don't think they're going to be competitive in a ton of games. And this is certainly not a spot where I think Jordan Poole is going to go out there and pay off the $8,100 price tag against what we expect to be one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, one of the best perimeter defensive teams in the NBA, now that they have Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and even Kristaps Porzingis to some extent with his 7'3" fan frame, defending out there. So for me, at the shooting guard position tonight, my fade of the day is going to be Jordan Poole.
Yeah, I don't hate that because everything you said, he hasn't hit the 40-minute plateau. He's going to have massive games this year. We saw it in the preseason. He scored 41 points in 3 quarters. where he's the one thing he has given us. He's given us the Nick Young look away 3 where he didn't make it. Like
Right.
he's going to give us a lot. There's going to be a lot of memes. There's going to be a lot of points. There's going to be a lot of shots. But this doesn't feel like a great spot. I'm not like, I wouldn't like fault you if you wanted to play him in tournaments. Just like, okay, I'm going to play him at negative ownership because he has serious upside if the shot falls and if this game stays close. But Daniel Gafford being out doesn't help their case for this game to stay competitive. Not that Daniel Gafford moves the needle a lot, but again, Washington has a clear issue behind Gafford in the front court. There's nobody. So yeah, I definitely can get behind getting out of the pool here.
You and your jokes, my friend. You and your.
I don't know.
Your
What do you mean? I don't
you're gonna get people to leave the stream, so you continue to throw some of those dad jokes out there at us. Moving on down here. So Jordan Poole's there. Brandon Ingram was surprisingly getting a lot of love here this evening in some of the rostership projections. You and I talked about this on the show this morning, the preview show. I'm waiting for that price tag to come down a little bit. It's actually started at 77, went up to 8. He's at 8K again. Love the shot volume. I get he's filling up the stat sheet, but again, he's kind of just paying off value right now. And as long as Zion is healthy and CJ McCollum is there, I just don't know if we're going to get 50 fantasy points, that ceiling out of Brandon Ingram here. So, a lot of people are in on him. I'm less bullish, maybe a cash game play for me with Ingram, but I'm not looking to use him in tournaments tonight.
Bingo. Cash game play. Good. The ownership also, derives from position eligibility, good game environment. But I agree. I think it's more cashy than anything else.
Yep, 100% here as well. Got a couple of people in chat. Appreciate you, Mark and Air Jordan out there. Those of you who are tuning in, if you haven't yet liked the stream today, would be a great help to us, help boost the visibility of what we're doing. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, breaking down this. If you haven't already liked, if you haven't yet subscribed to the stream today, make sure you do that as well. Big thanks to all of you for tuning in as we go through and break down today's action for you all. Any updated news we get, we'll certainly go through and talk about that here as well. What other mid-tier shooting guards are on your radar tonight, Grande?
One we could just talk about quickly because maybe a little impactful news. LaMelo Ball's remaining on a similar minutes limit per Steve Clifford, head coach of the Charlotte Hornets. So
31 to 33.
31 to 33. So, but again, coach speak is one thing. LeBron's played 40 minutes in back-to-back games after putting on a limit, right? So,
right.
Terry Rozier, 7,200, really good game environment. And again, maybe the peripheral stats down the last game. LaMelo had a really good peripheral night. So did Gordon Hayward. So did Brandon Miller. Mark Williams is a really good rebounder. But Rozier is more the guy we saw on opening night. He plays a bunch of minutes. He takes a bunch of shots. When a shot is falling, he can break a slate. So I like T. Rose here. $7,400. I didn't mean to skip around, but it was just, the news just came out. Tyler Hero. Dude, I understand on most nights he's going to be a third option. There is big news potentially in Miami with Bam Adebayo being questionable. And I'm not saying Bam directly takes Tyler Hero's already taken 20 shots a night and he's playing 40 minutes a night. But Tyler Hero's also a good rebounding guard that will be asked probably to do a little bit more on the glass if Bam's not there. So, I'm perfectly fine with playing a guy who is taking 20 shots every night and has literally played 40 minutes in back-to-back nights. So, and if those shots fall, I don't know how many times we have to say this today. He's shooting 37% from the floor. He's a much better player than that. If they fall, he's breaking a slate, $7,400.
Yeah, listen, no doubt about it. Again, we like volume shooters here. And we said this from night one. There's a real chance that this season, Tyler Hero leads the team in points per game, leads the team in shots per game. While they rest Butler, Bam, and some of these other guys on nights. Now, Josh Richardson's questionable to play tonight. We could see him debut here. Caleb Martin already ruled out, but again, not really expecting that to impact Tyler Hero all too much here. Again, I like Shaedon Sharpe at $6,300. Again, I think he's perfectly fine here in these spots. We read it all about OKC. Last year on back-to-backs, they had a tendency to maybe limit some players. Giddey was always one of those players that we had some trouble sort of guesstimating the value. Now, blowout happened, 22 minutes, didn't really play well against Cleveland there, 32 minutes, but not necessarily just about Giddey, but the rest of the Thunder here. Any worry about maybe some limitations early on in the season here?
Sure. I mean, like, for as good of a coach Mark Daigneault is, he was so frustrating last year. Everything he did was very frustrating. And he's the favorite to win Coach of the Year in Vegas, or opened as the favorite. So, yeah, I think there's definitely risk. Maybe it's something you just point to and say tournaments only. And I think that's a perfect segue, because your Call of Fame GPP lock resides here at the shooting guard position. Why don't you let everybody in on that?
That is true. Second Call of Fame play for me here. GPP lock of the night. Cam Thomas, because why not? I mean, the man is an absolute bucket here through the first couple of games.
Is Cam Thomas real, John?
Is Cam Thomas real? For me, tonight, he is. He is my Call of Fame GPP lock. Love the price tag for him at $6,000 here as well. And it's an absolute full screen now on the Cam Thomas Call of Fame there. 19 and 21 shots on the 2 games played here. 33 minutes in the starting lineup against Dallas. 30 actual, 36 points in the first 2 games. And this isn't like an anomaly. We talked about it on the show this morning, dating back to his last like 5 or 6 starts. This is basically what you were getting out of Cam Thomas when in the starting lineup. An absolute bucket off the bench, going up against Charlotte, a team that we know plays in these high-scoring, high-paced games where either they're getting blown out and the other team's dropping 140 on them, or it's a competitive game and both teams are going for 130 each. So with Cam Thomas going to be in the starting lineup here tonight, and the fact that if we go look, I just updated our rostership numbers here. Cam Thomas tonight is going to be kind of popular. So, you know, a lot of nets are obviously, but if he goes off again at $6,000 for 46, 50 fantasy points, you know, that's the value you want in your lineup, and that's where I'm going with my GPP lock here.
I mean, it's just hard not to look at Cam Thomas in tournaments and just be like, yeah, I don't want to play this guy, because if he's in the starting lineup, it's just insane. Like, he's just getting to every spot he wants offensively. He's doing anything he wants offensively. And I'm actually shocked mostly that in his picture on DraftKings, he's smiling. That's the most shocking thing, I think, of the night, because I've never actually seen him smile. I don't know if you've ever looked at Cam Thomas. He could score 100 points tonight, and he will not crack one singular smile.
Well, I'll be smiling if he cracks 100.
Yeah, so that's correct.
I'll tell you that. I'll be the one smiling if that ends up being the case here. So we had my GPP fade of the day today. Was Jordan Poole at 8,100 and shooting guard. My GPP lock of the day is Cam Thomas here. Going to be in my lineups tonight at 6K. What other shooting guards for you here tonight, Grande?
Derek White, 5,900. I'll do it all. Maybe Boston's second best player on their team. Sometimes 5,900 is a really good price tag. You know, with Jordan Poole having the ball so much, there is going to be a lot of turnover risk. Derek White excels in that on the defensive end of the floor. So love him there. If OG ends up being ruled out, I'd be okay getting to Gary Trent in tournaments, $5,400, very good eligibility. He is a high upside scorer. He is not going to provide you much else. He does historically get steals. So there are nights where he has 2+ steals. And if he is someone who scores 20+ points and hits 5 threes, like, you could be in a really good position with him. Another what if is Tim Hardaway Jr., I think, at $5,100. What if Kyrie Irving doesn't play? Tim Hardaway's been good.
I was going to say, even with
Kyrie
playing,
right.
TPHJ has been knocking the shots down right now.
So I'd have no problem going to Tim Hardaway, even though he slighted me in a Chipotle way back when. And I'm not that I remember that or anything,
sure.
But all good. He tried to big time me, all good, no problem. But I would get to Tim Hardaway at 5,100 as well.
Yeah, I like that call. Going under to the 5K range here. Alec Burks for me, again, a guy that's just been coming off the bench for Detroit.
Yep.
And just doing what Alec Burks has done for a decade, it seems like, right? Just coming up, scoring points. Historically, he's actually given you a little bit better peripheral numbers than he's given you it's an anomaly getting 1 block per game. I don't see him continuing to knock that down, but 2 assists, 0 and 0. Generally, he gives you a couple more assists. The rebounds are probably fine there, but if you look at 24 and 18 points, like, he's just kind of hot. It's like, kind of, but he's a really good off the bench scorer for a young team here. So I kind of like Alec Burks here at $4,500.
Only thing I'll say about the rebounds is 5 might be all he gets, because we have
3 guys that give you 10 rebounds.
Yeah, the rebounds, I could definitely see the assists get some positive regression there. Sean, shut up. You know what? I'm not. I'm not salty at all. Not at all. I'm not salty one bit. It wasn't totally his fault. It was he had a bodyguard with him when he was playing with the Knicks. And his bodyguard told me that he doesn't like to be approached. And, I don't get that, because, Tim Hardaway isn't Luka Doncic. So, me recognizing him should have been enough. But,
sure.
We move on, John. I'm a bit.
Jordan saying that Burke will score for sure. Agreed. He will. He's going to be a bucket off their bench.
He is a bucket.
We'll see Moses Moody, I guess, if anybody sits out for this team. Played 17 minutes, missed all of his shots, 1 for 6, but like that he took 6 shots in 17 minutes. That's fine. 20 fantasy points in 2 of the first 3 games of the year on a back-to-back. Now, I know Kerr said everybody's going to play, but we'll see. Kerr's a liar more often than not. So,
well, he said everyone's going to play, and then Clay and Kuminga came out as questionable. So
that's what I'm saying. He's a liar. So we'll see what happens as we work our way down. Anybody else down here for shooting guard?
If we want to talk about Grady Dick here, we can. I mean, sure. Another guy that they drafted in the first round can space the floor with already really good. I mean, he just came in NBA ready. Quite
literally the reason he was drafted to do what he did against Philly there. 4 of 6 from 3. He's not going to give you much else, and he hit 5 fouls in 28 minutes. Probably a little bit more reliant on the OG news, obviously.
Yes, 100%.
Downgrade him, but Precious Achiuwa being doubtful tonight. I'm curious what him and I guess Boucher gets the bump there, right?
Boucher.
I wasn't sure if you thought they would maybe go the Siakam 5 route, and maybe that would put Grady back in play here or not. But we'll see. We'll see how that all plays out. But if OG's out, definitely in on Grady. And then Lonnie Walker, they just came out with the starting lineup for the Nets, same as the other night. Cam Thomas is in, Ben Simmons at the 5, DFS at the power forward spot, Dinwiddie and Bridges. So that Royce O'Neal will come off the bench for them. But Lonnie Walker came off the bench, played 21 minutes, didn't play on opening night, but played game 2 with Cam Johnson out. So I have to at least assume Lonnie Walker is going to be in their rotation here this evening. And again, another guy that's sort of like, this is what he's done his career. He comes off the bench, did it with San Antonio, did it at times with the Lakers, would come off the bench and score. And then for whatever reason, teams would just stop playing him as well. But at least for now, he's the guy that gets on the floor and looks for his shot. So in deep tournaments, definitely multi-entry lineups here, Lonnie Walker could be a pivot, because if somebody gets into foul trouble, they're going to have to go to him on the wing. And the fact that he can play two of the wing positions here, I think bodes well for that.
Yeah, I like Lonnie Walker in tournaments as a pay now.
Anybody else said shooting guard for you?
Mm-mm.
All right, let's get to that small forward position. Some elite plays here. Obviously, Jason Tatum can play at small forward or power forward. LeBron on a back-to-back here, probable to play tonight, 39 and 35 minutes last 2 games, 27, 15, and 8. I said it after the Phoenix game. I'll say it here again. Really should have put that MVP LeBron bet in because he is just playing outside of his mind right now. Sadly, again, they're 1 and 2, so just wasting the efforts of King James here at 38 years old, being all that he could be. But I don't see anybody in Orlando shutting down LeBron here. So, if AD doesn't play tonight or something like that, then, LBJ at $9,100 is still a really good price tag.
I mean, I wish we could see under the hood with coaches that say, I'm not believing coaches anymore.
It feels like this would be a limitation night if he plays, like they talked about earlier, back-to-back. Maybe they only play him 30 like they did on opening night, but I don't know. He's LeBron.
Maybe because of that, I'd limit my exposure to tournaments, but I'm perfectly fine if you end up getting to LeBron.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Anybody else here in the top 8K and above range?
No, I mean, if Bam sits, I'd I could see a path to Jimmy. I think
Okay.
naturally, if Bam, naturally he'd be asked to do more. He had 13 rebounds on opening night. That's probably a similar line that he'd need if Bam was out.
Agreed. All right, let's get to one of your Call of Fame. You'll have a few here at this position here. Your cash game lock of the evening. Take it away here, Grande.
Yeah, Scottie Barnes has been just as advertised, and if not better. I mean, we're talking about a guy who came into the league known for defense and immediately has flipped the script and really just is do it all. I mean, the defensive numbers have not lacked, but the offensive numbers have been obviously pretty incredible. We're talking about a guy averaging 20 plus points. He shot 60% or better in back-to-back games. He's hit a 3 in every game. He's rebounding. And now we get Portland, who is currently 28th in defensive rating. They're 0-3. They're on a back-to-back. It's bleak for them. They're down Anthony Simons. They're down Rob Williams, their best interior defender. So Scottie Barnes, someone who does find his way into the mid-tier and into the paint quite often offensively, doesn't have to worry about Rob Will. He's going to be worrying about a foul-happy DeAndre Ayton, Tumani Carmana, Jabari Walker.
Yeah.
Like, that's the crew that they're going to have there. So I think Scottie Barnes is as good of a play tonight as anybody else per dollar. 46 plus fantasy points in all 3 games. Just pencil it in. Again, nothing surefire. There's nothing negative you can say about Scottie Barnes. The minutes are there. The shot attempts are there. The peripherals are there. The points are there. Like, it's just the guy has been maybe take a couple more free throws.
Right.
Like, is that the downfall of Scottie Barnes?
Yeah,
No,
I mean, obviously, but he's been incredible.
Yep.
Where he's been at to this point as well here. Sean Grande talking like my guy, like he's Collinsworth. You know what? We're guys. There are guys. That's fine. We got our Call of Fame here. Scottie Barnes, 100% in play here. Moving on down, I still think DDR at 75 or Levine at 76 very much in play. DeRozan, I saw our number here, is closing in on passing Larry Bird on the all-time scoring list. So maybe a little motivation game here for DDR to close in on that number.
Seems like he seems like this whole time he should be taking threes, Doesn't score enough.
I mean, he only
doesn't score enough without him.
2 for 7. So he needs 33 points tonight to surpass Larry Bird.
What if DeMar DeRozan this whole time was taking 7 threes per game? How many more points do you think he would have been scoring? Or you think he would have been worse? Every year, 7 threes.
I mean, he's not hitting threes right now. He's only 2 for 7. But I guess you got to assume he would have hit a couple more over the course of his career.
Yeah.
Larry, former coach of the Pacers, GM of the Pacers, gets maybe DeRozan goes and passes him in the scoring list against the old team there. So like both of those Bulls players down there for sure. Anybody else down here that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I got one guy. He's a point guard. He's a small forward. And he's in my favorite game environment today, and he's my GPP lock of the day, and that's Ben Simmons. I mean, we officially got word about the starting lineup. I think there could have been, questions if they were going to run it back again because, they didn't exactly play too well in that lineup. They gave up 125 points in that game with Simmons starting at center, but we saw the jump from 23 to 32 minutes. We saw a little more aggressive Ben Simmons, 8 shot attempts from 6, and we were 2 assists shy of a triple-double, which there's no reason to think the rebounds aren't going to be there. There's no reason to think the assists aren't going to continue to be there. And he's an elite defender, and he's an elite stat stuffer. So Ben Simmons at 6,400, playing with guys like Cam Thomas and Mikal Bridges is going to be very easy for Ben Simmons because these guys are really good scoring, really good scorers. So 6,400 for Simmons is probably about $1,000 too cheap for him right now. So he's one of my favorite plays of the day, tournaments. I would probably play him in cash too, but I'm locking him into all my tournament lineups and moving on from there.
Yeah, listen, I like that. Again, a guy that we know is going to fill it out, can give you that double-double, triple-double potential here. And Charlotte, they have some bigs, but they could be looking to play a little bit smaller. We do have some breaking news here, Grande. OG Anunoby considered on track to play tonight. So if we are, maybe we're looking at Grady Dick earlier or Gary Trent, looking like OG on track to play this evening. So those of you building out some lineups, know that news is coming down our pathway here as well. Moving on down here a little bit more. Anybody else again, Grande, that maybe at the small forward position you're looking to key in on?
Yeah, maybe one of my favorite, if not my favorite, under 7K play is Michael Porter Jr. here against Utah. We've seen some type of limit for Porter, and we don't know what that exact limit is. Probably around 30 minutes because that OKC game was a blowout. The second game there was a little foul trouble, but he's looked great through 3 games, and he's been primarily crashing the glass. I mean, 9, 13, and 12 rebounds in each of the first 3 games. And this is a guy that is considered one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. He shot over 40% for 3 last year. I don't think he's ever going to turn into the player that you and I had hoped he would be, but he's also playing with Nikola Jokic, and that makes life a lot easier for everybody else. And if he's going to go 4 for 7 from 3 every night, we're going to be talking about a guy who's averaging 20-10 double-double by year's end. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but there's going to be a lot of 20 and 10 nights for Michael Porter if he's knocking down the threes like he did against OKC. So I love the price tag. Again, Utah has been the worst defensive team in basketball. They are dead last in defensive rating by a pretty wide margin, worse than Brooklyn, worse than Portland. So, I like a team that doesn't play defense and also is 12th in pace. So that's the matchup that Denver has here against Utah. So give me Michael Porter, 6,300 is my favorite under 7K play.
Love it. Again, a guy that we've been high on now for a little bit. Right under him, Gordon Hayward, I said to you, on opening night, I just kind of stumbled my way into him. And then I played him again against Detroit on purpose. And he went off for 41 fantasy points, 19, 9, 4, and 3. What do we say all the time, right? While he's healthy, you should be looking to play Gordon Hayward. He's still a very good, very productive player now. The shot attempts, great against Detroit, not so much against Atlanta, just 4 of 8, but then 6 of 15. If we can get him facilitating the ball around a little bit more, he can fill up that stat sheet. The rebounds have been kind of a surprise for me. 8 and 9 boards the first 2 games. Not a guy that I generally consider to be someone that you would think get double-doubles and rebounds. I expect more of like a 15, 5, and 5 line out of him. So love that we're getting the rebounds. Love that the scoring's still there for him here. And again, I'm willing to run that going up against Brooklyn here tonight at $6,200, just getting more exposure to that game. Scrolling on our way down under 6K plays, any one particular standout for you, Grande?
Big Meech, Larry Hoover, we do read chat for the record. So if you have a question, please send them our way.
We've been chatting. I haven't seen your chat if you threw anything in there, my friend. But if you got any questions, throw them our way, man. We're here.
Yep. Asor Thompson, he was in chat. Air Jordan 420, shout out 420. He mentioned Asor Thompson, maybe a Detroit Pistons fan. This kid's been great for them. He's not the most efficient scorer. He is not the most high volume shooter, but he is a really good defensive player that is really, really high motor, high energy, really aggressive on the glass. Another reason why Alec Burks is never going to get more than like 5 rebounds in a game, right? Because they have 3 guys that are all averaging
nearly 10. One guy definitely. He's also averaging 10. Is Stewart averaging 10 or like just below?
I believe he is at 10. He's at 10 exactly.
Yeah, so 3. I don't think have there ever been a team that's had 3 guys averaging double-digit rebounds in the starting lineup? Feels unlikely.
Yeah, feels unlikely. This is like the how many receivers have had 1,000 yards in the same. It's like the Peyton Manning with Brandon Stokely was like Wayne, and so I love Asor Thompson. If you're not playing like Isaiah Stewart, you could probably play 2 of them. You don't want to play like all 3 of them, but I do like Asor Thompson.
Yeah, Christopher here. Which big guy for the Pistons is the best value? So Isaiah Stewart's a little bit cheaper on DraftKings than Asor Thompson is. From a defensive standpoint, I feel like Thompson is from a scoring standpoint. Like you're gonna probably get a double-double from Stewart here tonight. But I think I still go Thompson here because if a couple more of these shots drop, he's not too far off of the scoring upside that Stewart's been giving us here. The assist numbers have been great for Thompson. And then again, the blocks and steals. So I would lean Thompson here tonight, Christopher. But him and Stewart are similar prices. If you want to talk value, I mean, you're still getting a good value on Jalen Duran. It's just that they bumped him up to mid 7K now.
Right. That's
still 8x return for what he's given us through 3 games here. So I'm not really shying away from any Detroit guys. And actually, our guy Beasy, I don't think is in chat here tonight, but he was an opening night. James and I did our MLB DFS show, and we just kept on playing Minnesota Twins over and over again. Well, we had the revelation during the NBA DFS preview show this morning. We think the Detroit Pistons are going to be our Minnesota Twins this season. We're going to be playing a lot of them. Cade Cunningham, Alec Burks off the bench, Asor Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duran. Eventually, I think Jaden Ivey will get a bigger role here. We're going to be probably plugging in these Pistons more often than we're not on slates that they're playing here. So both of them, we're definitely finding ourselves getting some exposure to. Under 5K plays, anybody stick out to you here tonight?
Nothing for me in particular. Right around the 5K range, Brandon Miller, Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway. I think you can get to any of those guys. Zaire Williams is someone that you and I talked about on the pod last night. He's playing a big role for them. Yep. I don't know if the rebounds are sustainable, but for a former first-round pick, 9 and 10 rebounds, they are clearly lacking in the front court. That's why they went out and signed Bismack Biyombo. They need help.
Wow. What helps them is that Jaren Jackson really isn't a great rebounder.
He is not.
So, Tillman and Williams are really the guy grabbing boards here. So
Tillman undersized, Jackson not a good rebounder, and that just leads to Bane and Zaire Williams grabbing boards. So I like Zaire Williams 46. But why don't you talk about one of your favorite value plays of the day?
Yeah, I mean, for me, again, I know he's not starting, but you know that the role is going to be there for him, and that's going to be Royce O'Neal, all the way down here at $4,300. Again, 34 minutes off the bench against Dallas, 23 minutes off the bench against Cleveland, still giving us the production that we're looking for. Love the rebounds. Again, a guy that's going to rebound. They don't have Claxton out there to be a center, so 17 boards in 2 games is great. He's also a guy that generally gives you better defensive stats. I kept flipping back and forth between him and Dorian Finney-Smith. And historically, Royce O'Neal's just been a better guy to give you steals and blocks. So I think there's some of that sneaky potential because largely they do the exact same thing. They're 3-and-D guys. But DFS is much more of a perimeter defender where Royce O'Neal finds himself getting some of those secondary stats. So give me Royce O'Neal at $4,300.
Yeah, I love that. And they're going to play as they showed kind of last game, it's going to be a tight rotation here, and Royce O'Neal is firmly entrenched in that rotation. So I like that call quite a bit.
Yep. Power forward here. What do we got going on? Giannis is at 11K. If you want to play him, I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to. Tatum feel the same way. I'm not playing Siakam, though. I'm out on Siakam here today.
I also am out on Siakam. He was almost the guy that I picked to fade. I wasn't totally going to go there because if OG sat, I think there would be more merit to playing him against one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. So I'm pretty much out on Siakam. Someone I am also out on is the next position or next player down at this position. It's not that I don't like this guy. I picked him to win MVP for crying out loud last year. But Zion Williamson at 8,900, it's just the problem that you've talked about already twice. It's a price point thing for me. And yep. I'm not saying Zion doesn't have a ceiling and can't be great and hasn't been good because he has been. But when you're talking about a guy who has 2 steals, no blocks, averaging 6 rebounds, 2.5 assists through 2 games, he's only averaging 30 minutes. We're paying $9K.
You need 45 fantasy. You need 45 fantasy points to just give you 5x instead of averaging 36. So
it's just hard to get there, and it's like a good spot because Golden State's playing fast and Draymond's limited. So it's like there's a lot of things in Zion's favor, but if this team at full strength has a lot of good players, like they have a lot of good players, and they're not even at full strength. They're missing Trey Murphy, but like at current with the way that it's constructed, I just don't see a scenario I'm getting to Zion at 89. So for me today, Zion's my fade of the day.
Yeah, no real arguments with you here. Again, we think the pricing on him is just a little bit too much. We're waiting for it to kind of go down. Jared Jackson had been uber popular over the first couple of slates, and less popular tonight, but it's still willing to run it there because, again, just the shot volume, shot potential could be there for him, and the blocks and steals as well. But I find ourselves really kind of gravitating more towards, again, this mid and lower tier. One of the better values on today's slate here, Grande. You got someone in mind here today.
Yeah, Jalen Johnson. I tweeted yesterday it was Jalen Johnson's season when he started, and there's no reason to think that it stops. Now, the one thing you and I talked about on the pod was the potential for foul trouble. That is obviously something that we need to take into consideration. He's going to be guarding Karl-Anthony Towns. We don't know the official starting lineup, but yesterday he started at power forward, started against Giannis, stayed out of foul trouble early, and just couldn't keep his hands out of the cookie jar, got in foul trouble, got his third foul, got taken out in the first half. He was able to play 14 minutes, thankfully, before the fouls, and he did a boatload of his production early. But we've now seen 26 plus minutes in all 3 games, 27 plus fantasy points per game. He's had 7 plus rebounds. He's had a block. He's had a steal. He is a former first-round pick of last year. He can stretch the floor. He's a very good defender. He's very active. I love Jalen Johnson, especially in the starting lineup. He's still too cheap. You just gotta have to approach it as okay, if I believe Jalen Johnson can stay on the floor and give me close to 30 minutes, then he is way too cheap. Yep. If you do not think so, and that's fine if you think it, because it's in my mind and I'm giving you him as my value play of the day, then it's a tough sell because he's facing Towns. So I like Jalen Johnson a lot. Just keep that in the back of your mind.
You're not the only one. Right now, again, if you go to FantasyAlarm.com, you can get our draft percentage forecaster. We have about 40% of the field in on Jalen Johnson here this evening. So that's, again, where most people, I think, are looking to spend their money. I'm going to pivot off of you. My favorite play here, under $7,000 here today. We're going to go back to that Charlotte matchup with the Brooklyn Nets. I'm going to PJ Washington. Again, we looked at Brooklyn play small. We saw what happened with Dallas when they played Brooklyn went small. They took Isaiah Lively off the floor. They played some small ball themselves. PJ Washington sort of fits that sort of small ball-ish style of play. So while a lot of people look at this spot for Brooklyn and think Mark Williams, great night for Mark Williams potentially going up against Ben Simmons or Dorian Finney-Smith or some smaller version of that lineup. I think PJ Washington is someone that in tournaments we've seen pop opening night, 12 of 18 from the floor, 25 actual, followed that up against Detroit, 29 minutes in that game, just 26 fantasy points here. We need 30 for the 5X. I think he gets it tonight. And we've seen in the past him also give us some of those defensive numbers like we got here against Detroit. You add those defensive stats against Atlanta, you're looking at a guy that gave you 40 plus fantasy points. I just think this is a good spot. I talked about it after opening night. PJ Washington's a guy that I put in my lineups and he'll get 4 fouls right away, and then I don't play him. He goes for 50. Well, nobody's playing PJ Washington. He's at 3.5%, 4%. So let me be in on him tonight as my favorite under 7K. I think he fits the matchup of this game flow pretty solid.
Yeah, this game has so much fantasy goodness. I'm in on PJ Washington as well.
Other guys under 5K for you at the power forward position. Anybody jumping off the page?
I'll just say I'll give a shout to Isaiah Stewart, 52. I think he's fine. Just over 5K. I know you said under 5K, but yes, Kevin Love, 4,400. I think I'm telling you, he's interesting only because he continues to be super productive. The Jovic thing, as our boy Bowers in chat is asking, unless Jovic is starting, I probably can't go there because we can't even guarantee he's going to play. They've played Jaime Jaquez over him in both games. Josh Richardson being back, maybe they shift Jimmy to a different position. Realistically, if Bam doesn't play, I expect they start Thomas Bryant. But would it surprise you if Spoelstra bobs and starts Kevin Love at center and then then maybe they do start Jovic at power forward. Unless he's starting, I don't really have much interest there. I will say the only other people or players that I have any interest in, again, I mentioned it. Without Rob Williams, Tumani Kamara has played a bunch for Portland, John. He took 16 shots yesterday. He was playing like as one of the first players off the bench to begin with last night, and he played 23 minutes the night before. So like clearly not just a blowout run. And then Jabari Walker, another guy who got a whole bunch of run last night. He probably acts as the backup center. Jabari Walker's $3,400. He's power forward, center eligibility. And you said it atop literally when you were talking about your favorite stack. DeAndre Ayton has outside of, 5 fouls in night one. He had 4 of them in the first half. He had 4 fouls in Orlando. He played 30 minutes. Great. He was good. And then just 3 fouls in 21 minutes. Like, he's just so foul happy. If he gets in foul trouble, they're going right to someone like Jabari Walker or Tumani Kamara. So I like both those guys for cheap and in tournaments only at the power forward position.
Yeah, I like it. Beach want to know, are we favoring the Pelicans here this evening?
Yes, I like New Orleans at home. I don't like Golden State on the road, and we don't have official word on what the Golden State lineup is going to look like. That Golden State lineup might not include Clay and Kuminga, so I do like the Pelicans today.
Yeah, Mark wants to know, did we have any 3K guys that we were looking at on the slate?
I'm not playing Kyle Korver. I'll tell you that.
Not playing Kyle Korver. I mean, we looked at Grady Dick, but now that OG's in, we're kind of less in on Grady Dick here tonight. So I don't know. I don't think we really had any like 3K plays.
Jabari Walker. If you want to play him in tournament, if you want to play Jabari Walker in tournaments,
$3,400, 24 minutes. I'm looking around. I have a Jabari Walker autograph rookie card on my desk somewhere. Can't find it. I wanted to be able to like flash it on the screen and be like Jabari Walker, but I don't know where it is.
Well, he's gonna raise that card from $1 value to $2 value tonight.
Well, that's how I felt. Here it is. See if we can get it's gonna go away. A little Jabari Walker, a little shimmer autograph there.
This looks like when my mom is trying to show me something on her phone, and like she's like trying to show her face, but it's like up here in the sky. I'm like, Mom, turn your phone on.
We're kind of shrunk on the side of the screen, so it wasn't gonna look good anyways.
Yeah.
Chris wants to know what Pacer turns out to be the most consistent scorer. Well, I'm assuming you're seeing outside of Halliburton. I mean, Ben Mathurin did not look good the other day. I don't think that's going to be an every night thing. Turner's super inconsistent. Buddy Hield's eventually probably going to get traded. So I don't know. What do you think is going to be the most consistent scoring two for the Pacers?
Halliburton.
Halliburton scoring two outside.
No,
of Halliburton.
I know. I just don't have an like Mathurin. I guess long term.
Probably going to be Mathurin, but again, last night wasn't great. All right, let's get the center spot here, and then we'll make a lineup. For the folks here, we got to get out before roster lock comes. Center spot. We have about 11% of the field projected to play Nikola Jokic here tonight, going up against Utah. Obviously, a great spot for him, especially as they seemingly swap out John Collins and Walker Kessler playing the 5. Good luck to either of them handling what should be MVP there. Anthony Davis at $9,600 here. Again, a great spot for him, coming off of another, Anthony Davis performance. When he's healthy last year, he was just an absolute monster. So then he got hurt, and then he came back, and he wasn't the same, but he was playing better than LeBron at times. So definitely think AD is someone that's going to be in play. Air Jordan mentioning DFS. Yeah, listen, we like DFS starting. Again, I went Royce O'Neal for actually a couple $100 more expensive. And because of that, he's going way less owned than DFS is, especially since DFS is in the starting line, but both of those guys are going to be in play tonight, playing 30-plus minutes for them. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis is going to have – who's starting at center? Is it Muscala? Like, what are they doing?
I'm assuming it's Muscala. I'm assuming it's going to be Muscala. They don't have – so they I believe Anthony Gill is an option. He's undersized. John Butler has a 2-way contract. I'm assuming it's got to be Muscala. I mean, he's been their backup center, so –
yeah, so Zinger revenge game if you want to go there. He's 7'4", 7'3", right? Without the wingspan. Now he's going up against. I mean, Eli. He was going to smash Gafford anyways.
Yeah.
But Zinger at 83, great spot. All goes back down to though Jalen Duren. He today is my cash game Call of Fame lock of the day here. Just I mean, what more is there to say about Jalen Duren at this point? It's coming to the season, either felt disrespected because they traded for James Wiseman last year and they wanted to start him. I don't know, but 48, 44, 57, 17 and 14, 14 and 17, 23 and 15. Gets to go up against Chet Holmgren here tonight. It's a little battle of some young centers. I mean, obviously a huge price bump because there's been such a big price bump. Rostership not in on him as much as they were the last couple of slates. So now, yes, $7,100. If he gives you 57, you're looking at 8x. That's great. If he gives you 44, 49, it's obviously more 6, 7x. So not as big as he was when he was giving you basically a 10x return. Great for cash games still, though. Gonna unplug him in here tonight.
Do you want to feel old? Jalen Duren is 19 years old.
Oh, I know.
That is so
Luka Doncic is only 24. He's been in the league for 30 years.
Jason Tatum is
19. Still 19.
He's been in the league for 30 years. Yeah, this is sick. Jalen Duren is good that ownership's going away from. Good that people don't think that this is sustainable. Looks sustainable to me, especially if the way that their team is constructed right now with Cade drawing so much attention and the offensive glass has been Duren's with all this good. I hope the field moves off Jalen Duren, who's gone for 44 plus fantasy points. And not to mention, in that Miami game, he was in foul trouble the entire first half, did everything in the second half. So we've already seen him battle through adversity in game. If he gets off to a slow start, it just takes one spurt of Jalen Duren getting 4 offensive rebounds and 3 putbacks to where you're like, oh, right. That's why I'm paying $7,100 for this guy.
Meech saying he's got a money line bet on the Pacers tonight. Our guy Iggy Gilbert does our NBA betting content for FantasyAlarm. I'll give you a little insight there. He also has the Pacers money line in his best bets article here today as his 2-unit play of the day. So, Meech, we're right in line with you here over at FantasyAlarm. You can check out the rest of Iggy's best bets article off to a great start this season. Already for the first couple of weeks. How are you approaching Ayton, Tillman, and this whole range here in the mid-6Ks?
Tournaments. Ayton, if he can stay out of foul trouble, great. There's upside. Don't know if he can. I mean, maybe he did it in Phoenix, right? He was a 19 and 10.
Such a big game to be an absolute failure this year.
He does. 19 and 10 per game over the last couple of years, and realistically, 14 and 15 in game number 2. He had a big game. He just isn't a guy that does provide a lot of peripheral stats outside of rebounds. So you can get to Ayton. I think Tillman's been pretty solid outside of that last game against Washington. There's obviously foul risk when you have a 6'5", 6'6" center.
What was unfortunate with the game flow here was because they were actually down in this game, they actually took him off the floor at that 5-minute, 4-minute timeout. And they went small the rest of the way and tried to get some shooting on the floor. And they went Triple J at the center. So, I wonder if they're not going to be playing from ahead or in a more competitive game because they were getting blown out by Washington there for a little bit. If Tillman ends up seeing himself on the pine there to close that up. But that said, they're 0-3 to begin the year. So not great start for Memphis there without Ja. Craig wants to know, would we play Love or Bay for our last spot?
I would probably go Kevin Love. Sadiq played 31 off the bench. He was good, but we've already seen really high ceiling. He also has a 9 fantasy point floor. I think Kevin Love, at the very least, has given us indication he'll have a pretty safe floor on a nightly basis, just with the way he rebounds the basketball.
Yep, I think Love is probably fine here tonight, especially if Bam ends up being out. Potentially more rebounds for him. I've talked to PJ Washington already. Anything else here at center? Any value plays popping up? Do we trust John Collins the way he's been going? Isaiah Stewart's down here at 5,200, that power forward center eligibility for him. Where are we looking for some value centers?
I don't love value center just as a whole. I don't feel the need to really play any of them. I would have liked to play Kevin Looney if Draymond was out, but Draymond's been listed probable. Derek Lively's really hard to trust. I think Wendell Carter Jr. is in a really tough spot, which maybe leads you to someone like Mo Wagner in tournaments. If you think if Anthony Davis puts Wendell Carter in a box, which is definitely the possibility. Like Mo Wagner has a really high ceiling as a backup center, but
Revenge game.
Revenge game as well. So probably Wagner, and then I mean, our darling or my darling, and Onyeka Ngakwu, was someone I was really high on coming into the year. Foul trouble aside, because that has been the case for him. 27 fantasy points. We finally saw why they gave him the $62 million extension. We finally saw why there's rumblings of Clint Capella trade rumors, about. So I would go to Ngakwu 3,800 if if I needed someone who was cheap.
We got a Boucher question in chat.
That's
I'm Beantown. We're big Boucher fans, but no coach ever seemingly likes Chris Boucher. So in tournaments, sure, if you want to go down there, he's $3,800. Maybe he gets some run, but what's to stop them from putting Siakam at the 5 instead of Pirtle here? I see through you same thing. Obviously, Achua out. Does Pirtle get more run here tonight? Maybe.
Yeah.
They haven't been giving it to him, but I mean, I would love to see it. He was such a productive player for them last year when he got traded. So I'd be willing, again, in tournaments, willing to go Jakob Pirtle here tonight. There could just be more minutes for him in that rotation. So all of that is fine and dandy if you want to go there for some value at the center position. Guys, we appreciate you all in chat. If you want and do us a huge favor, give us a little like button on the stream. Really helps us with the YouTube algorithms. If you haven't already, subscribe to the FantasyAlarm YouTube. Do that as well. We have shows all week long breaking down fantasy football, fantasy basketball, you name it. We cover it here over at the FantasyAlarm channel. So if this is your first time tuning in, welcome in. If you could, again, just give us a like and sub. Greatly, greatly appreciated. James, let's recap our Call of Fame here for the folks at home. I was thinking I'd see what we were in on this evening. GPP lock for James here today, going with Ben Simmons. I'm going with Cam Thomas. Our cash game lock, Scottie Barnes and Jalen Duran. Value play lock, we got Jalen Johnson and Royce O'Neal. Favorite stacks, Grande's got Brooklyn, Charlotte. I think Portland, Toronto could be a little sneaky here tonight as well. Fades of the day, he's going Zion Williamson. I am going Jordan Poole. And our favorite players under 7K tonight, Michael Porter Jr. for Grande. PJ Washington is where I'm going with our Call of Fame here of the day. Grande, time of the show. We built a lineup, friend. Let's get to it. We got to plug in our...
Oh, we didn't mention this, John. I didn't mean to cut you off there. Would you play 3K Mike Muscala?
No.
If he starts?
So. I don't have any.
I just don't know what else
confidence in him, even as a starter. Truthfully,
is this Aaron Sharp? I mean, I just don't know what else they're gonna. I don't know what else they're gonna do. You look at their depth chart. I have genuine questions on what they do after Muscala. I'm not saying that he's gonna play 48 minutes. I'm not even saying he's gonna play 30. I'm just saying John Butler in 19 games career.
If he starts. Points. Sure, maybe, but how quickly could he pick up 3 fouls here tonight? So
faster than any other player in the history of the NBA.
I don't know. Listen, Musala's been fine. Beantown revenge game. It's true. The Moose was on the loose for a little bit last year for Boston.
I'm just saying he's 3.
I don't know. If he starts, maybe I'll throw him into utils in one of the lineups I built tonight, but not a favorite play of mine. We had some GBP locks here tonight, so let's get them in our lineups. We'll try to avoid going a full Brooklyn stack because we have a lot of Brooklyn in there, but you liked Ben Simmons and I like Cam Thomas, so we'll plug those two in our lineups here tonight. And Simmons.
You also liked Royce O'Neal as your favorite value.
Well, I said we won't do a full value. We won't do the full spend down. You like Jalen Johnson. We can plug that in at power forward. That's fine. I liked PJ Washington. We'll plug that in at the forward util spot here. What was your under 7K play?
Michael Porter.
So we got.
I just don't know if I think we should be able to get someone like Halliburton.
Yeah, I think that's where we're trending. So we go Washington here and Porter.
Yep.
Forward. All right, so we got $6,500. We had a value. We have some values here. We could certainly still throw in a Royce O'Neal or a DFS if we wanted to. $7,600 point guard and a guard here if we want to close out the show with the spend. What's our Luka play? Luka would give us 32. Can't get there. So Halliburton 94.
Well, we could with
but we can't use him a guard, so it doesn't work.
Yeah, but we could Ben Simmons as a guard. And then we could we'd have to really adjust. Yeah, Royce O'Neal in the small. There's
Michael Porter would fit. We could if we went Muscala. I'm not going Muscala.
Okay, I'm just letting you know we could if we went.
$5,800, probably Brogdon here, right?
Yeah.
So just an example lineup for everybody. For those who are playing tonight. Well, again, playbook is out. Sean Mitchell, our guy, has that playbook out for everybody over at FantasyAlarm.com. Get in our premium Discord, Grande and Jon, which Sean will be in there to roster lock, answering your lineup questions, getting you all ready for Monday's opening night slate here. Those of you who are not yet a member of the FantasyAlarm family, I got word that this deal is ending this week. So now's your time. Scan that QR code here on the screen. Get the annual subscription package for less than $16 a month here for FantasyAlarm.com/lock. Promo code LOCK here. Get yourself, again, the annual subscription package for less than $16 a month. Our month-to-month price is about $40 a month. Get access to all of our premium content, not just NBA, but NFL, MLB as it goes out. One of our lifetime subscribers hit for 5K Game 1 showdown slate of the World Series. Our World Series showdown playbooks are out. NHL DFS, NBA DFS, MMA. Our MMA DFS writer, Mike Iannoan, has taken down 4 or 5 GPPs already this year. Probably the best in the business, honestly, and you guys don't even know about him. So come join the family here today. Again, scan that QR code or go to FantasyAlarm.com/lock. Get the All-Pro subscription annual package for less than $16 a month today. Again, we appreciate you all tuning in with us. Like and subscribe to the channel if you could. Our NBA DFS preview shows every morning at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. We're back here live, 5 o'clock Eastern time each and every day. For James and myself, we'll be back here tomorrow. Good luck, and we will talk to you all later.